Kids.
Hi everybody. Today we're going to go on a website that I have been a really big fan of. It's called Listverse, and it's a bunch of random top 10 lists, and some of them are crazy, some are creepy, some are funny, and it's really kind of what you're in the mood for. But it's a really big black hole, so if you get into it, you're going to just be down in that hole for hours probably. Anyway, so I wanted to bring one that I thought would be really fun and see what you guys think of Listverse. 10 of history's greatest pranks and hoaxes. Number 10 is the Sydney iceberg. The Sydney iceberg prank appears on many lists of the greatest pranks of all time, and for good reason. On April 1st, 1978, people near Sydney Harbour were fooled by what looked like a giant iceberg.
You'd end up on the local TV shows. You've just got to think of something that's a bit unusual and different. At one stage, we towed an iceberg into Sydney Harbour. Now, it wasn't a real iceberg, it was a fake iceberg. But I told everyone years before that I was going to tow a proper iceberg up. And that got publicity itself, and people believed it. It was just, I completely made it up.
He convinced them that he had towed it all the way from Antarctica. That's funny. In reality, the iceberg was just a barge covered with plastic sheets, shaving cream, and firefighting foam.
So we hired a big barge, and we hired plastic sheeting and shaving foam and firefighting foam, and we towed the iceberg just as a barge at night out from Sydney Heads. And then what we did, we notified every newspaper and every TV station that the iceberg was coming. And we said we didn't say it was coming tomorrow, because that would have been April Fool's Day and they would have been suspicious. So we said the iceberg's coming next week. And in the end, the media in my home, the phone just jammed with the media ringing me up about the iceberg.
To make it more believable, Smith even arranged for hundreds of callers to contact media outlets ahead of time.
The next morning, we got all of our staff, we had about 300 staff, to ring the TV stations and radio stations and newspapers and say, "What's that coming through the heads? It looks like an iceberg." So all the switchboards were jammed. So they realised there was something big was on. And then through the heads in the rain, it was a rainy, misty morning, we had a tug towing the iceberg where we'd spread the firefighting foam and the plastic sheeting, and it just looked like an iceberg.
That's hilarious. Known for similar stunts before, Dick Smith estimated the total cost of the prank at $1,450, which he later said was completely worth it for the attention it generated. That is really funny. That's a good prank, actually. That's fun. That's a funny one. Number 9, the Piltdown Man. The so-called Piltdown fossils were first discovered between 1911 and 1912. They included what appeared to be a human skull, jawbone, and teeth.
In total, 5 human skull fragments, an ape-like jawbone with 2 teeth have been found, forming the basis of the new discovery. This showed a link of a human skull, ape-like jaw with human-like teeth, which had been worn down. Interestingly, the bones were stained a dark red-brown colour, the same as the ancient gravel that had been excavated.
Originally dubbed the Piltdown Man, the remains were believed to represent the earliest Englishmen in history, and many scientists praised the finds as a long-sought missing link in British evolution. Oh my goodness, I can't speak.
During this meeting, Dawson exclaimed that a reconstruction of the fragments indicated that the skull was remarkably similar to that of a modern-day human, albeit more ape-like. For example, the brain size was about 2/3 of that of a modern human, as well as the part of the skull that sits in the spinal column, looking not so human-like, but orangutan-like jawbone apparently housed the human-like teeth rather well, adding credence to the idea of the Piltdown discovery being a missing link. Woodward explained that the discovery was a vital missing link in human evolution, estimated to be roughly 500,000 years old. Further excavations on the site at Piltdown found more artefacts, some more believable than others, including a loose canine tooth and an elephant bone carved to look like a cricket bat. The narrative couldn't be any more perfect. The ancient Englishman was a cricket player. All he really needed yet was a cup of tea, a monocle, and outdated views on empire. Obviously, the last few things weren't actually found.
In 1953, however, the Natural History Museum in London revealed that the fossils which had influenced scientific thinking for decades, were actually a hoax.
Well, not exactly everything in our story was actually true. There were many holes in the Dawson story, with the line of custody of the skull prior to 1912 being ropey at best. A hoax had formed in that gravel pit in Piltdown. Someone had tried to pull the wool over the eyes of the Natural History Museum, in doing so leading British paleontology down a dodgy path. The best part of 40 years after the discovery, the Piltdown Man would actually be conclusively found to be a fraud. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, the fragments were extensively re-examined with greater scientific scrutiny. Microscopic examination found foul marks on the teeth, which could have only been caused by a deliberate act to mislead. It was also found that the bones had been stained using an iron solution and chromic acid. Even that cricket bat was fishy. I know, this is where the bullshit alarm probably started to go off for you as well as me, but it was discovered under a microscope that it had been carved using a modern knife. The nail in the coffin of the Piltdown Man was in 1949, when Kenneth Oakley used fluorine absorption dating, which showed the fragments to be no more than 500 years old. The results exposing the fraud were published in Time magazine in 1953.
Interesting. The jawbone turned out to be from an orangutan, artificially stained with chemicals to appear ancient. Why? Why would you? I mean, I guess maybe for like accolade or something to get your name out there?
Likely it was done for clout. My personal theory is the amateur wanted to be seen as the expert at any cost. There is actually a monument to the Piltdown Man erected in 1938 by Arthur Keefe, which is down this road behind this gate. It's on private land, so this is as far as I could get. Now the hoax has gone down as one of Britain's greatest. I mean, it did alter nearly a whole country's line of scientific investigation for the best part of a century. It highlighted British sensibilities of the time, of that being a big-brained early human would of course come from England and play cricket.
That's kind of cred. Okay, so number 8, the Jovian-Plutonian gravitational effect. Okay, I've never heard of this. The Jovian-Plutonian gravitational effect refers to a famous April Fool's Day prank by Patrick Moore, a respected British astronomer, science writer, and television presenter. On April 1st, 1976, he announced on BBC Radio 2 that a rare alignment between Jupiter and Pluto were about to occur. According to Moore, this event would briefly reduce Earth's gravity and allow people to feel weightless if they jumped at the precise moment.
Did you know that in 1976, a rare alignment between Pluto and Jupiter reduced Earth's gravity, causing people to experience a strange floating sensation if they jumped at a precise moment? Or at least that's what the famous British astronomer Patrick Moore promised would happen during a BBC radio interview. He even gave it a name, the Jovian-Plutonian gravitational effect. At 9:47, Moore declared, "Jump now," and dozens of people called in to report that the experiment had worked. A Dutch woman said that she and her husband had floated around the room together, and one angry caller even wanted compensation after he had risen so rapidly he hit his head on the ceiling.
Okay, that's a funny one. That's harmless and that's funny. I bet he was chuckling to himself. I would be like, look at all the people I just fooled, you know. It reminds me of that story. I think it was back in the 40s. Don't quote me on it. I'm probably way wrong. But back in the 40s, there was this book that they were reading on air. I can't remember the name of it. It's so famous. But while they were reading it on air, so everybody, you know, was sitting at the little radios and listening to it. A lot of people didn't realize that it was a book, and they thought that all these aliens were coming to invade, and that they were actually landed and invaded the place. So a lot of people like mass hysteria everywhere. But yeah, that kind of reminds me of that a little bit, but like less of a problem. Okay, the number 7 is the Berners Street hoax. I don't know who this is. Theodore Hook was a dramatist in early 19th century England known for his elaborate jokes. He is best remembered for the Berners Street hoax, which took place on November 27, 1809, when he sent roughly 4,000 letters to traders, workers, and professionals across London, all directing them to 54 Berners Street, where in reality, nothing was happening.
In 1810, London witnessed one of the greatest logistical disasters of the 19th century, caused not by war, not by plague, but by one man's desire to be a bit of a dickhead. This is the story of the Berners Street hoax, the day one woman's house became the most visited address in Britain. It's November 1810. Napoleon is busy conquering Europe. Britain is busy conquering hangovers. And in London, a man named Theodore Hook has an idea that could only have been conceived by someone creative, but also someone with a lot of free time. Hook was a writer, composer, but also a known troublemaker. One day, while walking through town with a friend, Hook proposed a bet.
I'll lay you a guinea that in 1 week that nice modest dwelling shall be the most famous in all London.
The house he chose? 54 Berners Street, a perfectly ordinary townhouse in Marylebone, the heart of London. The unlucky homeowner was a Mrs. Tottenham. A few sources online claim she was Mrs. Tottingham, but the majority say Mrs. Tottenham, so we'll stick with that for this video. Either way, she was an entirely innocent woman who had done absolutely nothing to deserve what was coming. Hook began writing letters, a lot of them, each one personally inviting a different tradesman or official to 54 Berners Street, requesting their urgent assistance on November the 27th, 1810. 5 a.m. There's a knock at the door. It's a chimney sweep. Then another. Then another. Then come the coal merchants. Then the butchers. Then the bakers. Then the candlestick makers. Then lawyers, followed by vicars and priests. By 9 a.m, the street is gridlocked. Carts, horses, carriages, all jammed outside this poor woman's house. Half a dozen grand pianos arrive. Doctors show up, having received urgent letters about someone gravely ill. An undertaker even turned up with a custom-built coffin. Then there's fishmongers, florists, bootmakers, hat makers. News spread and caught the attention of the Governor of the Bank of England, the Duke of Gloucester, and also the Mayor of London, who had all come to observe what was going on. It's speculated that Hook sent up to 4,000 letters requesting people to turn up here at 54 Berners Street. By midday, Berners Street had collapsed. Traffic is paralysed from Oxford Street up to Tottenham Court Road. Every delivery boy in London is shouting. Every bystander is watching. And somewhere across the street, Theodore Hook sits in a rented room with his friend, watching it all unfold through a window. The police arrive to try and clear the road, but it's like asking the Thames to move over. Everyone claims they were summoned, everyone has paperwork to prove it. The chimney sweep is shouting at the coalman, the undertaker is arguing with the baker, someone's unloading a 7th grand piano into the street. Hook's prank had effectively caused a complete shutdown of central London. The next day, the newspapers lose their minds. Headlines scream about the Great Berners Street hoax. It becomes an instant legend, the Georgian equivalent of going viral. Several artworks depicting the chaos were made. The authorities launched an investigation. They questioned servants, postmen, and tradesmen, but got nowhere. After a year of investigation, Hook was suspected, but never accused. It wasn't until 1835 when Theodore Hook himself confessed to the prank in his autobiography.
It's fair to say Hook won his bet. That 1 guinea he wagered would be worth around 450 quid in today's money.
The Berners Street hoax went down as one of the greatest practical jokes in history. No harm done, no one injured, just a complete breakdown of urban infrastructure because one man got bored.
That is hilarious. It's like, you know what I'm going to do is I am just going to write a slew of letters and just fill up your street and make you really embarrassed because nothing was happening. I don't know, that sounds pretty fun. That's pretty funny. I wonder how long it took for him to write 4,000 letters. That's insane. And how long did it take for him to get those mailed out and stuff too? Okay, number 6, the Republic of Sans Serif. I might be super mispronouncing that. According to a story published in The Guardian in 1977, the Republic of Sans Serif was a tiny island nation in the Indian Ocean shaped like a semicolon.
In the annals of history, stories of deception often capture our fascination. From elaborate cons to audacious schemes, human ingenuity has always found ways to manipulate perception. Yet, few hoaxes have matched the scale and sophistication of the faked empire of Sans Serif. Its story isn't just about deceit. It's a testament to the power of imagination and the human thirst for knowledge, even when faced with the absurd.
As readers eventually discovered, it was an elaborate April Fool's Day prank presented as a 7-page travel supplement filled with entirely fictional details. Nearly every aspect of the country was based on printing puns, with names like Sans Serif for the nation itself, Bodoni for the capital, and Flong for its indigenous people. The dictator, General M.J. Pica, was even named after a typographic measurement unit.
The empire of Sans Serif didn't emerge from ancient ruins or a lost manuscript. It was born on April 1st, 1977, within the pages of the British newspaper The Guardian. The occasion? April Fool's Day. In a daring move, the editorial team decided to publish a 7-page feature about a fictional island nation located in the Indian Ocean. Complete with interviews, maps, and glossy photos, the article described a utopia steeped in rich history and culture. Sans Serif, as described, was composed of 2 main islands, Upper Kes and Lower Kes, shaped like a semicolon. The names of its regions, from Bodoni to Gil Sans, were cheeky nods to typographic terms. Its capital, Helvetica, and its ruler, General Pica, added an extra layer of wit. The Guardian's team crafted a backstory so detailed that even seasoned geographers found themselves momentarily questioning its authenticity.
Very involved. The prank proved extraordinarily successful, in part because advertisers joined in on the joke. Kodak reportedly ran a contest for photos of the non-existent island, while other companies played along to maintain the illusion. Sans Serif became a recurring in-joke at The Guardian, with similar satirical features appearing in later years. Today, the fictional republic even has its own page on Wiki Travel, further blurring the line between parody and reality. Let's see if we can find it.
Sans Serif.
It is on Wiki Travel.
It's a Sans Serif.
And it says, this was an April Fool's Day joke article, amused ourselves tremendously in making it. Please refrain from dragging out the silliness and plunge forward on some real articles. That's hilarious. Yes, they have, it says uppercase, the larger main island to the north, lowercase, the smaller main island to the south. That is funny. Bodoni, the lively capital, Ariel, Baskerville, Port Clarendon, and Inns are the cities. Cocoa Banana Beach is famed for juicy coconuts and beachgoer and long poles. Look, and they even have a little map. It totally does look like a semicolon. That is really funny. All right, it looks like they went and they're talking about the culture of it as well as the economy. They went all out on this. So if you want to look a little bit more about this it's very cool. But that is on wikitravel.org, and you just type in Sans Serif. I think I might be pronouncing that incorrectly.
Love you, Mom.
I love you too, honey. Okay, number 5, the eruption of Mount Edgecumbe. Mount Edgecumbe is a real dormant volcanic mountain located near Sitka, Alaska. On April 1st, 1974, all of these are like in the 70s. But on April 1st, 1974, residents noticed something alarming, smoke rising from the crater. Fearing the volcano had become active, they alerted authorities, prompting a U.S. Coast Guard helicopter to investigate. As the pilot approached the summit, he discovered a massive pile of burning tires arranged inside the crater to spell out April Fool in 50-foot high black letters. That's funny. The prank was orchestrated by local resident Oliver Porky Bicker. But Oliver Porky Bicker, who had collected 70 tires over the course of 3 years. This is a long prank. With the help of friends and a helicopter pilot, he placed the tires in the crater and ignited them. The stunt drew international attention after being reported by the Associated Press and has since become one of the most famous April Fool's Day pranks ever recorded. That is a long time to carry out an April Fool's Day prank. That's pretty funny though.
Been ranked one of the best April Fool's pranks of all time, and it happened in Alaska in 1974. Lauren Maxwell explains that's when a man named Porky pulled off a fake eruption of a volcano near Sitka.
Sitka residents did a double take April 1st, 1974, when they saw this, a black plume of smoke coming straight up from nearby Mount Edgecombe volcano.
Because
So that's not as much smoke as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like a bunch of smoke. So it doesn't, I mean, I guess I don't live near a volcano, but it doesn't look like something that would be erupting.
Volcano.
Edgecombe had erupted in the past. It was 4,000 years ago, but you know, whenever you see a volcano on fire, that makes you a little bit edgy.
The man behind the smoke was Porky Bakar, historian House.
Okay, there's Porky. That's awesome. I love that he's an old gentleman too.
That was funny.
That's even better.
Backman says Porky and several friends, known as the Sitka Dirty Dozen, hatched the plan.
They're all like over 60. It looks like. That's awesome. This is awesome. Makes it even better.
For an April Fool's prank, but had to wait 3 years until the weather was clear enough to fly a helicopter packed with old tires to the site.
They rigged up 2 Manila rope swings, about 150 feet long, that would hold about 50 car tires. And then he gathered up a batch of oily rags, a gallon of sterno, a lot of diesel oil, and a dozen smoke bombs. And nobody even knows where he got the smoke bombs.
Before lighting the tires on fire, Porky stomped the words April Fool in 50-foot letters in the snow, painting them black with spray paint. He remembered to alert authorities beforehand, but not all of them.
He remembered to tell it.
That's funny. I feel like it would be a lot more smoke would make it seem more like it, but I mean, I can see why that would be alarming. That's funny. Okay.
Do you like milk tank?
I like everything about that thing.
I like the milk tank.
Okay, number 4 is the Great Moon Hoax. On August 25th, 1835, the now defunct New York Sun published an article claiming the discovery of life on the moon, supposedly based on research from the Edinburgh Journal of Science. The story described fantastical creatures such as unicorn-like animals, 2-legged beavers, and winged humanoids resembling bats. Okay, so this place sounds awesome.
It all began in Scotland, where the story cited its source from the Edinburgh Journal of Science. The headline read, "Great Astronomical Discoveries," made by prominent astronomer Sir John Herschel, who at the time was at a remote field trip in South Africa, and for the first time in history, by means of a remarkable new telescope, he was able to glimpse life fantastical on the moon.
The New York Sun published a series of 6 articles claiming that life had been discovered on the moon. Life including unicorns and beavers that walked on their hind legs. The crowning touch of it was the discovery of the so-called man-bat. The Vespertilio homo was supposedly the Latin name. These remarkable 4-foot-tall creatures who flew and talked and built temples and did art and apparently fornicated in public.
Let's stop here. In case you missed that, he did say man-bats on the moon fornicating in public, and people actually believed it.
The astronomers of the time were religious astronomers, and the general belief among the astronomers was that all of the heavenly bodies were populated because God would not have created these worlds without also creating intelligent beings there to appreciate them.
This story went viral before social media, internet, TV, radio, and whether you believe in science or religion, we all want a ticket to the moon. And when we get there, we want to see 2-legged beavers and unicorns and man-bats. Because after all,
the moon is a strange place for men to be flying to.
That's pretty cool though. I mean, they had a That place sounds awesome. So I would totally go. Unicorn-like animals. I love unicorns. They're great. I actually have a tattoo of one on my leg. And two-legged beavers. That would be weird to see. I don't know that creepy would be the word, but a little weird. And then winged humanoids resembling bats. Isn't there that, what's that, the Mothman? Isn't he a winged humanoid resembling a bat, kind of? Or I guess a moth. But, I mean, I would go there.
Look, number 3. It's a lion.
Yeah, number 3. The washing of the lions is often cited as one of the earliest recurring April Fool's Day pranks. Beginning in 1698, London residents were periodically invited to attend a ceremonial washing of the lions at the Tower of London. Despite the absurdity of the event, many people fell for the imitation time and time again. The most famous instance occurred in 1856 when invitations were distributed under the name of a supposed senior warden called Herbert de Grasson. The letter, sealed with crimson wax, warns attendees not to offer gratuities, lending it an air of official authority. According to the contemporary accounts, crowds arrived expecting a grand spectacle, only to leave disappointed with no lions and no washing of beard. The prank endured for decades, becoming a curious footnote in London folklore. This was a long prank. It began in 1698, and it was still going in 1856. That's insane. I wonder when they stopped redoing it. But I think that's funny that a lot of people showed up to see lions being washed and there was nothing happening. Okay, number 2, when Alabama changed the value of pie. On April 1st, 1998, a story published in the New Mexican for Science and Reason newsletter claimed that the Alabama state legislature had voted to change the mathematical constant pi from 3.14159 to a more biblical value of 3.0. The story spread rapidly across the internet and was picked up by media outlets around the world, prompting widespread disbelief and outrage.
It was 1897, and there was a guy called Edwin Goodwin, this amateur mathematician, who thought he had solved one of the unsolved problems of mathematics. A problem that goes way back to ancient Greece. It was called squaring the circle. The problem is, can you find a square that has the same area as a circle? So this problem goes way, way back. And it's a favourite problem for amateur mathematicians. And this guy thought he had solved the problem, but implicitly in his proof, he had assumed that pi was exactly 3.2. Now, he was so pleased with his proof, he wanted to copyright the proof itself, so that anyone using the proof from that point on would have to pay him royalties. Now, this bill went through committees, went through the Education Committee in the House of Representatives, and they obviously didn't know what they were doing because they passed the bill. And the representatives actually passed it unanimously, 67-0. They passed it. Now, this is the weird bit. On the same day that they were passing the bill, there was a mathematician in the building. He was there for a completely different reason. Right, he was a guy called Professor Waldo, but he decided to sit in on what they were discussing because it was about maths. He was interested, and he couldn't believe what he was hearing. They invited him to meet Edwin Goodwin. Oh, do you want to meet Edwin? And we're very proud of him. He said, no, I meet enough crazy people as it is, thank you very much. So Edwin Goodwin had done this in 1897, and you can see the documents. It's absolutely true, this story. You can look at the documents yourself, you can read it. And it's a strange thing to happen as well, because the problem he was trying to solve, squaring the circle, was proved to be impossible 15 years earlier, in 1882.
Okay, number 1, the spaghetti harvest. The spaghetti harvest remains one of BBC's most famous April Fool's Day pranks. On Panorama, the longest-running investigative news program, on April 1st, 1957. The idea originated with cameraman Charles de Jager, who wanted to test just how much viewers trusted television.
It isn't only in Britain that spring this year has taken everyone by surprise. Here, in the Ticino, on the borders of Switzerland and Italy, the slopes overlooking Lake Lugano have already burst into flower, at least a fortnight earlier than usual. But what, you may ask, has the early and welcome arrival of bees and blossom to do with food? Well, it's simply that the past winter, one of the mildest in living memory, has had its effect in other ways as well. Most important of all, it's resulted in an exceptionally heavy spaghetti crop. The last 2 weeks of March are an anxious time for the spaghetti farmer. There's always the chance of a late frost, which, while not entirely ruining the crop, generally impairs the flavor and makes it difficult for him to obtain top prices in world markets. But now these dangers are over, and the spaghetti harvest goes forward. Spaghetti cultivation here in Switzerland is not, of course, carried out on anything like the tremendous scale of the Italian industry. Many of you, I'm sure, will have seen pictures of the vast spaghetti plantations in the Po Valley. For the Swiss, however, it tends to be more of a family affair. Another reason why this may be a bumper year lies in the virtual disappearance of the spaghetti weevil, the tiny creature whose depredations have caused much concern in the past. After picking, the spaghetti is laid out to dry in the warm alpine sun. Many people are often puzzled by the fact that spaghetti is produced at such uniform length. But this is the result of many years of patient endeavor by plant breeders who've succeeded in producing the perfect spaghetti. And now, the harvest is marked by a traditional meal. Toasts to the new crop are drunk in these poccolinos, and then the waiters enter bearing the ceremonial dish. And it is, of course, spaghetti, picked earlier in the day, dried in the sun, and so brought fresh from garden to table at the very peak of condition. For those who love this dish, there's nothing like real homegrown spaghetti.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. I could see, I guess, maybe in the 50s, I feel like that would have been something that's a little silly for people to have believed, but I get why he just wanted to see how much viewers trusted TV, and TV was new at the time. So, oh, that's pretty funny. Spaghetti trees. I would like a spaghetti tree. I think that would be freaking awesome. Go out and make my own spaghetti. Okay, but that was number one. That was it. So I hope you enjoyed going over list verse with me. We might go through list verse in the future. There's a bunch of crazy articles, and it's just really fun. So you should definitely check it out. But wait, thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Ooh, that was a nice video.